Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Hicks, Executive Editor of the Massachusetts Review, and I am overjoyed to see this wonderful turnout. So thank you all for coming. Today, we are celebrating the launch of a fantastic special issue, and given its topic, I really have nothing more to say to you. Except it's for sale over there. I'm told that's something I need to say. And the other is to introduce one of our two wonderful guest editors who's here, and Shailja Patel. Take it away.
Excuse me. I'm just trying to capture this for everyone who can't be here today. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming out today in such miserable weather to celebrate the Woman Revisited issue of the Massachusetts Review. 50 years ago, there was a special issue of the Massachusetts Review dedicated to women. It included Audre Lorde and Angela Davis and Anais Nin and a lot of other writers who are now household names and legends and icons. And 50 years on, we revisited it, and that was a daunting task to guest edit this issue with this history and this tradition behind it. We hope that we did it justice. We got amazing contributions from incredible writers. We got incredible support from the original editors of the Woman issue and from the magnificent team at the Massachusetts Review. So I'm going to kick it off by reading from three contributors who couldn't be here with us tonight. I'm going to start with, from South Africa, everybody's new favorite global hero, Lebo Mashile, who is a household name in South Africa and should be a household name in the US, but isn't yet. I hope she will be soon. This is from her award-winning and globally acclaimed one-woman show, Venus versus Modernity. The award-winning play, Venus versus Modernity, unpacks the life of Saartjie Baartman, a South African woman of Khoi descent, who was exhibited as a freak show in the 19th century Europe under the name Hottentot Venus. At the peak of her fame, in the early 1800s, Saartjie Baartman became a reference point for abolitionists, fashion designers, and political satirists alike. Her remains were dissected and put on display at the French National Museum for 150 years. In 2002, Saartjie Baartman was finally returned to the land of her birth. This is He Got Lost, a poem from Venus versus Modernity. I wake up in the morning. I wear beauty as armor. Outside the front door is war. A neighbor sees a hippopotamus. A taxi driver sees sex. School children see a joke. I move past them. Back tall, namas firm, make me nice, holding me back, hoping that the person sitting next to me in the taxi won't be fat. You can't have two fat people together. Eyes everywhere at them all. Praise, criticize, and hate. Maybe they hate my hips. Maybe they hate my walk. Oh, Sujla, c'est sexy! On tour, I have to worry about walking. The elderly white couple gawking as I check into the flight, walking down the aisle of the plane, sideways. I can feel the familiar weight of laughter from behind. I am not normal anywhere. Every street, every building, every step is a stage, a courtroom, a battlefield, a spotlight. My skin is thick. My heart is thin. Gravity pulls worlds towards me. There are lips on my knees, eyes on my back, cannons on my bum poised for attack. The roar of my thighs plagues the mind of many men. I'm a living fantasy. I leave them for dead. I once loved a man who was very, very small. I put him in my heart where I could keep him warm. He loved the lights. He loved my voice. He loved the drama of the stage, but when I took him home, the love was not the same. He got lost in the roles. He got high on my arse. He tried to swim in my belly. He did not have a plan for who I really am when no crowds are around. He got lost in my meat. He drowned in a song, weighed down by a persona we both carried for too long. When I tried to take it off, it was too much for him to bear. The heaviness of the woman left when no audience is there. He got lost in my arms. He got buried in my breasts. He suffocated in the oceans I carry in my chest. He got lost in our home. He crawled out into the streets. He got lost between the bones of women skinnier than me. For 7 years I tried to hold him in the folds of my flesh. 7 years of searching until my sanity left. It takes guts. It takes tears. It takes a fuck shit mentality to know that I am sexy when every eye screams freak. I sing because there is a war being fought over my body. My small lover says, "Usindwanga masendele endleni." And now we go to Palestine. We had the incredible gift from Susan Abolhawa, the world's best-selling Palestinian novelist, of the 3 first chapters of her current manuscript in progress. She trusted us to publish those and offer them to the world. We're Going Home, My Beloved. A story from the archives of the United Nations. In 1962, before Israel erected the separation wall between the Lebanese village of Kufr Kila and occupied Palestine, a donkey belonging to a Palestinian refugee named Layla crossed back into Palestine from a refugee camp in Lebanon. She disappeared for nearly 1 year in the new colonial Jewish state, until the day she returned to Layla in Lebanon, pulling a cart loaded with fruits and other produce. Children followed the lone donkey as she made her way to Layla, who immediately welcomed the donkey back to the family. The joy of their reunion was short-lived, however, as the United Nations emergency personnel descended on Layla's home, demanding she relinquish the donkey because it was carrying a foal fathered by an Israeli donkey. Of course, Layla protested. The donkey was part of their family. She had returned to them on her own, but Layla could not win against the UN and had no choice but to relinquish her donkey to the recent colonizers in Palestine until she gave birth, whereupon they would keep her foal and the donkey would be returned to Layla. The UN took the pregnant donkey to the Israeli authorities waiting at the border. However, after 3 months, the donkey escaped again and returned to Layla. Again, the donkey arrived, pulling a cart, but this time her foal ran alongside. Mere hours later, the UN and the local authorities arrived again at Layla's home, demanding the foal. Terrified and crying for its mother, the foal was dragged into a military jeep and driven off towards the Nakura observation towers, where it was delivered to the Israelis, while its mother lived the rest of her days displaced and broken-hearted, with her displaced and broken-hearted human family. Some of you may have heard of Rifat Al-Arir, the professor of English and poetry who was assassinated 40 days ago in Gaza by Israel. To mark the 40th day since his assassination, Monday has been declared a global Read for Rifat Day, where everybody is being asked to read his poems in public spaces. At the end of this event today, we're going to record a reading of his most famous poem, the one that has gone around the world, If I Must Die, Then You Must Live, and we'll put it on the Massachusetts Review blog on Monday. So if you would like to be a part of that public reading, please stay back after the end of the event, and we have copies of the poem available there on the table. I'm going to wrap it up with another writer who's very dear to my heart, Wairimu Murithi, who's a brilliant young Kenyan sister, friend, fellow writer. I've known her work for over a decade now, and she was one of the first writers I wanted to invite to contribute to this issue. There is a House in New Orleans by Wairimu Murithi. Track 1, House of the Rising Sun. There is a house in New Orleans. It's called the Rising Sun. Some say it was a coffee house, which may mean that it was a hotel or a brothel, maybe both. Some say it was a women's prison, perhaps a jail for sex workers undergoing unsuccessful treatment for syphilis. Others still say it likely did not exist outside the lyric. Today it's a bed and breakfast in honor of the ex-versions of the song. Miriam Makeba recorded 3 verses of the folk song of ambiguous origin for her debut solo album, Miriam Makeba, in 1960, the year of the Sharpeville massacre, the year her daughter joined her in New York City, the year her mother died, the year South Africa cancelled her passport. Nina Simone recorded 6 verses for her live album, Nina Simone at the Village Gate, in 1961, the year she was first billed with Miriam Makeba for a benefit concert at Carnegie Hall, the year her fiancé pulled a gun on her, the year she started to wear a page boy wig with a bejeweled barrette. Odetta recorded her version in 1962, the year she came under fire for trying to be a blues singer, the year she performed in Atlanta for the first time, the year before she recorded One Grain of Sand. I start this essay with this song because I found myself tracking the journey it has taken through Black women's throats and across Black women's geographies before I heard it for the first time on Somi's album-length tribute to Mama Miriam Makeba, and because I want to map the journey I have been on that started the day I saw Somi perform the tribute at the Apollo. The second track of the album, House of the Rising Sun, starts out in a rhythm that makes me want to visit it. As in Nina's later renditions of the song, the music of the rising sun makes it sound like a raucous place, a building that cannot contain the riotous excess of Black enjoyment that pours out of its doors and windows and into the street. In fact, it sounds like another place I have encountered in Somi's oeuvre, a music salon in Lagos. And the playlist to that essay has just been compiled by our brilliant assistant editor, Frenchie, and it will be up on the Massachusetts Review website on Monday, so you can listen to all the music that is described in this essay so gloriously while you read the essay. Next up, we have the brilliant Carole DeSanti.
Wow, what a great group. Thank you. The glasses might be needed. Well, thank you so much to the Mass Review for this wonderful, rich collection that I've only really begun to absorb. But it's a very, very special project, and I'm quite honored to have been included in it. So thank you to all of you who worked so hard on it. As a former editor myself, I can only imagine what it involved. And thanks to all of you for being here on this kind of everything sunny, rainy, cloudy day. I'm going to read from a novel in progress about Anne Bonny and Mary Read, who lived and sailed as pirates during the early part of the 18th century, known as the Golden Age of Piracy. The few historical facts known about them come from the record of their trial, which took place after their ship was captured by pirate hunters and they were arrested off the coast of Jamaica in 1720. Their fellow pirates, the men on the ship, including its captain, were tried, convicted, and executed the week before their own trial. Bonny and Read were similarly sentenced, but they each pled the belly, that is, they claimed to be pregnant and quick with child. It being illegal to execute a woman at this stage of her pregnancy when she has felt the fetus move, they were returned to jail to wait out their terms. After that, we know very little. The legend goes that Mary Read died in prison and that Anne Bonny somehow escaped, at which point no trace of her was ever found again, or what traces there are tell very different stories about her. Imagined versions of their lives have been passed down. The first appeared in 1724. It was a possibly fictional account by a probably pseudonymous author, sometimes rumored to be Daniel Defoe, sometimes not. Most of the stories about Bonny and Read, including in contemporary media, follow pretty closely along those original lines with, in my opinion, all of its biases and assumptions. My investigation into Bonny and Read began about 10 years ago. I wanted to write a story about them that was as rooted in their place and time and their imagined psyches as I could possibly make it. This was a much longer and more labyrinthine and more fun and adventurous and challenging journey than I ever could have envisioned. Just mostly what writing fiction is, right? For those of you who are fellow travelers. It also turned into a way to look at gender identity, rebellion and tyranny, class struggle, war, peace, pirate cuisine, because, you know, eating well on a pirate ship, at least when you have stolen something to eat, is the best revenge. Working motherhood when your job is a pirate. So the novel itself has three parts. It is the story of another historical woman, the wife of the governor of Jamaica, who was also the judge who presided at the pirate trials and handed down the sentences of execution. There is a contemporary thread about a woman who discovers the lost account of Bonny and Read, and the book within the book that tells the actual pirate story in their voices. And that's what is in this wonderful issue, and that's what I'm reading from today. One thing it's helpful to know is that Jack Rackham was the captain of their ship, and he's thought to have been one of Anne Bonny's lovers. Their story has been told to an anonymous transcriptor who was an interviewer of the women when they were in their cells, as I've imagined it. So the first part of this is in the voice of the transcriptor. If any of you are following along, I'm going to skip around a little bit and try to explain it so it's at least clear and legible as to what's happening. So there will be some edits. Plunder. Being an account, in their own words, of the true exploits and adventures of the notorious pirates Anne Bonny and Mary Read, arrested at Jamaica, by Anon, transcriptor. Printed by Baldwin and Company, Church Street, Kingston, Jamaica, in the year 1724. A caution to the reader. The laws of society, for the sake of harmony among men, do censure and condemn such deeds as are described herein, and, two, for the betterment of society, would seek to hinder their publication for common understanding. Every effort has been made by the transcriptor to give a truthful rendering of the events. While liberty of arrangement has occasionally been taken, as the seams of life and art form an ill-fit union, the facts beneath it stand. as given in evidence and testimony made at the jail of Santiago de la Vega. Chapter 1, in which they meet. And this is told in the voice of Mary Read, and Mary Read uses plural pronouns, we and our. We do not call it home, this widened world, the stretched horizon and endless wind, a sky lit silver, clouds scudding past a pearled moonrise, the sea of stars beyond. Our watch from the mainmast, tied on at the waist with a yard's length, sling seat made fast, feet fixed on two slats either side of the great mast of king's wood. By day, sharp-eyed to the distance for dark crosses, a shimmer of sail, scenting the wind for tar and powder. Here we thread our way at the balance point, the line that divides the heavens from earth. Our chest is bound, hair chopped, chin tarred as we skirt the edges of men. Fire as ordered, or in the case of pirating, needed. We keep a quiet ear, ne'er traffic alone with any sailor, nor rinse, wash, or piss before them, nor tarry in port, take spirits in excess assay to marry any woman, though she might ask it. Any comradeship lost in revelry is made up by a good shooting arm. This shadowed life, is it a man's adventure bound to a woman's heart? Or did she bind herself to making just a world that put her to ill use? Or both at once, an unseen third, the dreaming hand of fate? Atop the king's pillar, the slop shirt is loosed, the binding eased. So wiry and muscled, so deft and nimble, so charged with the sailor's uses, such a cloth is hardly needed now, and yet, with it, we are stitched, Mary and Read, Read and Mary, two within one. Only here, glass to an eye, stars pricking the midnight velvet, are we most ourself, each with our place. One night-wrapped and hidden, the other pistol ready, on watch. Some hours ago, a shout, the scent of land caught, notes on the salt-bleached wind, cactus flowers, sea grape and smoke, sun-baked limestone. The wind came up and quick silvery thoughts cast ashore to the surf-pounded beach and a clutch of Spanish masts, sightline to Casilda Bay. Beyond it, the terraced rise of the mountains. On deck, the sky spyglass was passed from hand to hand until Jack stuck to the eyepiece. He said, we'll move in under night cover. Head straight on the road from Casilda to Trinidad and on to the arsenal. The men are full of appetite to dance the night on Buccaneer Plaza, cook powder, and feast on Rackham's stores. 'Tis the captain's lot, provide or fall, and a celebration. One of our number is keen felt by absence, Anne, Jack's woman. He says himself he's better with her and somewhat lost of his ballast without. She's got a brain for the bone, has Anne, and a dab hand, but a ship's no place for a bearing woman. It was put to the vote. She stayed aboard till the two Jacks marched her off. She's wanted back now, Bonnie Anne, they call her, out of Rackham's hearing. Hauls sheets with the best of us and holds her drink in Havana. Pete calls her Bloody Grace. That's a reference to Grace O'Malley, one of the famous Irish women pirates of an earlier era. Whether to flatter or insult, it's one and the same with him. Tonight the torchlights at Casilda Bay wink, holding out their arms, but none of these men have been a mother, nor, till recent days, has she. Jack, at the last, calls off the approach. Put off by Spanish masts, he says, he'd like not to tangle with them tonight. But, maybe too, he's beset as a lover who fears to be spurned. For there's a change in Jack since he put Anne off the ship at knife point to have her child. A thought in him that maybe she won't so easily forgive. The Swift catches a land breeze and heads for a deep water cove off the Isle of Pines, anchor off a curve of jagged rock, a needling business. Up on the mainmast, anchored at 30 fathoms, 'tis calm, a balm of nighttime. Moonlight a glint off the limy cove as the tides wash. Beach fires make bright sparks among the shadows. It would be false to say we do not dream as well under a gleam of moon flung up into the cooling sky, of a place to share and share alike, some hideaway off a coastline only a fool would try, where the storm beset. But not home, no. Home now and will always be the stretched horizon through an eyepiece. Thank you.
If you don't already have your personal issues, we have them on the table over there. You can take one home with you for $10. Unfortunately, we can only accept credit card and debit card. This beautiful issue was designed by Pam Glaben, who's right here in the front row, and it was put together and brought to completion by the Massachusetts Review's incredible managing editor, Emily Wojcik, and sorry, I've forgotten your title, Eddie. I know you're not the managing editor, but Eddie Clifford, the other editor who put it together with Emily. Sorry, I memorized it and I forgot it. But I do want to make sure they're acknowledged, because the gap between what we as guest editors did, which is pull in multiple drafts from around the world and send them back and forth and go back and forth with the editorial team, the chasm from there to holding this beautifully designed, exquisitely produced, copy edited, line by line, checked and laid out, and incredible piece of, it's a collector's item and it's full of gorgeous art, and it's just looking at it makes me happy, and that wouldn't happen without this incredible editorial team. The art on the cover is by Mercy Thokozane Mina, a brilliant artist from South Africa. Their work is also featured inside the issue, and I hope you will all spend many, many happy moments poring over this art, because it's incredible. So our next reader is my fellow guest editor, Zoe Tuck, who's going to read the contribution of Emily Hunerdal, one of our contributors, who wasn't able to be here with us today, unfortunately, because she came down with COVID this week. But I'm really glad Zoe is going to share her work with us.
Sorry, I got the mask ear, you know. Thanks everyone for coming. You already thanked everyone. You've thanked everyone. So I won't thank anyone, but I will say I also thank the same people. And thanks to all of you for coming. So I'm reading Emily Hunerdal's contribution to this issue, which is a series of poems from her manuscript Otherhood. This is one of, I felt very fortunate to be able to publish one of my best friends and somebody that I consider to be like my sister. We actually, from the moment we first met, we started writing Exquisite Corpses together. We definitely have a manuscript's worth, and we both have the last lines of an Alice Notley poem tattooed on our arms. So I feel very connected to this contributor. Just a small bit of context about this is that this is a manuscript written through a sort of experience of growing up queer in the South in a very intense religious context, and then also the adult experience of infertility. So there's this kind of spectral character, Julia. I won't say anymore. I'll just read to you. Am I loud enough? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Julia, shaped like beginning, shaped the dark, the shadows of the moth, drunk on light. I've only known to love you as men have loved me, only so many ways to say, unborn, in the secret language of thieves, Knowing to repeat is to make a ghost of knowing. Each act of telling is an act of forgetting. A diagram here showing the trajectory of Julia. A mother finds nothing behind a bathroom door, an outline of dried red flowers, a happier history, to have been naked and southern. The sun practices lines for its role in the apocalypse. Julia, a way of speaking in toasts. Julia, pain manifested as vision. A picture, a peach woman in a black frame, and I can be all of the background. Julia of last winter, living at the bottom of the ocean, she hears this poem and remarks how safe it was under there, holding court at your local bar. Julia, an attic of ghosts and ancestors, I lineate her, sing her. I show too much of my hand. It's like living what can't be lived, touching the spine of the book. Julia unbirthed, sues NASA for her portion of the universe. It's like, in dying, you relive every moment of staring out windows. Julia, there gets to be a point in holding something close where it either has to pass through or be let go. In the dark, the person wearing white seems to illuminate. Julia is the opposite of this, like the difference between hope and desire. Loosened ice emigrates from her ancestral home, a cliche like the submarine feeling of daylight filtered through trees. Writing makes the immediate immediately past, and I'm still meaning to reach into your fingertips like gloves. A friend replies, nothing changes, just everyone's hair gets longer. Courage is a flame of desire. Poetry is following bubbles to find the surface of the water. You can trap light in mirrors, but this won't make the work ecstatic. The moon senses our poetry waning and slowly moves away to find a new meal. A CAT scan shows a Julia shadow. Smoke is the swelling of the fire's imagination. Endurance is a medium in which to make a useless thing. There's just two more. I think okay, good. Like Julia, I've been feral. A few days of pre-existing condition, like June, air. I've been looking at you, Texas. I've been not needing the particulars, the heaviness of some Friday. I wanted you nervous, braided like a good knot, that helium moment. I might have been a ruiner, like air, scraping gum off the floor, a poem. I wish you, my heart, the difference between star and knot. I wish I would write like this. I was really dying. Julia, silvery as the wind. Julia, cold-blooded. Julia, the other woman. She's in my footprint, scrapes her knee on purpose, bleeds its silver mercury. Julia travels through wires, vacations in capacitors. Julia, drunk and in trouble, takes up painting, but only in silver. Julia in a white dress. Julia on her first day of school. Julia in every puddle I find. Julia and the peach woman. Turning street lamps off at dawn, she's between lovers, shrinks to the sound of wind chimes, looks but doesn't touch, spreads rumors about the ocean. Julia, a residue of sound. She lives in the cavities created by lightning. She orchestrates a symphony of train whistles. Julia, a mush of papers thrown in the Cumberland River. Julia, pushing the earth away like an unwanted lover. So anyway, and there's a lot more great stuff in this issue, so definitely get your copy.
The day after Biden began to bomb Yemen, I could not be more grateful to have with us today Kayhan Irani, who came all the way up from New York and who has for decades been documenting, hymning, barding, making theatre about migrant lives, brown migrant lives, in the shadow of 9/11, in the shadow of the war on terror, and most recently in the beating of the war drums for the invasion of Iran. Kayhan Irani.
Oh my God, there's a lot of it in here. I was like wondering why I can't breathe, but I'm just not used to having a non-expandable waistband. I just got it. It's like, oh, it's been my sweats all day long. So it's nice to be out and squished up into this. I don't know what to say. It's so nice to be here. It's so nice to put faces to names that I've been emailing with, and to see someone I haven't seen, I feel like in decades, who I love dearly. It's so nice to be with all of you, exchanging all of these metaphors and imagery, exchanging our words, feeling what's possible when we come together. And I thank all the same people and everything that went into supporting this issue and putting it together, including 50 years ago, the original issue, and everything that supported those people to come together. I'm going to read for you from my, well, it started off as a participatory one-woman show called There's a Portal, and through COVID and through having a child, it transformed into a participatory interactive digital story. So you can also go to there'saportal.com and do the interactive journey in your own time, and the script is there. And so I'll read a small chapter from that piece. And, you know, it is a participatory piece. So I'm inviting you right now to participate in this. And that doesn't mean coming up here, and it doesn't mean standing up even. It means simply thinking about a moment in your own life. And if you'd like to, calling out from your seat a word that has come from that moment in your life. That's all. So I'll guide you, and if you feel interested in participating and doing it, I welcome you to do it. Okay. So this chapter is called Regret. I welcome you to turn your attention inward, whether that means closing your eyes or looking down or looking off into the little bit of sun that's peeking through. You're welcome to do that. And think back to a personal experience or a personal moment of regret. It can be anything, long ago, recent, big memories, small, tiny little thing. Just find a moment that you can still feel, a moment that still tickles you. And in that moment, identify a person, place, or thing in that memory, whether it's visual, sensorial, anything. Now come back out, come back into this room, and you can wiggle your toes or wiggle your butt. And I welcome you to call out a noun, a person, a place, or a thing from that memory. Just call it out into the room.
Kashmir.
Kashmir, thank you.
Mom.
Mom, thank you.
Sister.
Sister, thank you.
My child.
My child, thank you.
Baby.
Baby, thank you.
Brother.
Baby.
Brother, thank you.
Baby.
Baby, thank you.
Tim.
Tim, thank you. Thank you. My tongue. I can speak Spanish better than any of my ancestral languages. I studied it from middle school until college. I was good at it and I liked it. Knowing Spanish made me feel more American. Besides, my Gujarati was frozen at a 4-year-old's level and it frustrated me. I can't understand what you're saying to me. In this new place, it was very clear that my language had no value. My people no history, nor ways worth knowing. My mother tongue marked me as invalid. So naturally, I blamed my mother. I blamed her language for making me feel less than. So somewhere in my elementary school years, I asked my mother to stop speaking to me in Gujarati. Can you please just speak to me in English? before I had a chance to even think about what I was saying, the words were already out of my mouth. My mother slowly swallowed the air between us and finished her sentence in English. Americans can go on for hours about learning a new language, about all the sounds that they're using and all the new words that they're learning and all the quirky, charming differences that they're navigating. Americans love to talk about their remarkable efforts to learn another language. No one in America speaks about what it's like to lose a language. If you sat down immigrants and children of immigrants, Native Americans and African Americans, I wonder what they would say about losing a language. I say it's like watching a large ship sail away from me. As it drifts towards the horizon, part of the hull is submerged, but everything else is visible. It's clearly a ship. But after some time, the entire bottom half has vanished. You can still see the masts and the sails, the tall wooden poles and wide triangular fabrics are undeniable symbols that a ship is out there. But soon the masts get eaten up. And the sails are the same size and shape as the white foam drifting along the horizon. And there you are, staring at the waves, having forgotten why you came out to the shore in the first place. Though I hated myself for asking my mother to stop speaking to me in English, I resigned myself to the distance. Some years later, she comes home, brimming with happiness. She's got something special for me and she wants me to see it. My John, look, your new social security card. And see, I fixed your name. Kayhan and Irani. She beamed. What had I done? I was ashamed, embarrassed. What had I done that my mother would come home happy to show me that she cut off half of the name she'd given me? My name is Kayhan Docht, daughter of the universe. Docht, Dochtar, daughter of. I was no longer daughter of. And my mother was so pleased that she could give this American girl the chance to be whoever she wanted to be. Thanks, Mama. Dikri mari kevi tu, jaun tune kevi hu, apu tune battaji. Rakhu tune petma chapi. Daughter, you're my darling. How dearly I love you. I'll give you everything. I'll keep you close to my body.
Wow. I want more of everything now. But we're going to leave you all wanting to take this issue home and read it for yourselves and hear the voices of the contributors.